Morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Cecil.
Top of the morning to you.
Oh, thank you. Goodbye, darling.
Goodbye, Charles. What time can I expect you?
Before supper.
This week on The X-Files in Fire, the British character actor Mark Sheppard plays the villain of the week, a guy who steals the identity of a posh British toff and then moves to the United States, becomes obsessed with a family, and he has the ability to set himself on fire. Yes, he's the fire guy.
Sorry, Dwight.
The fire guy. The fire guy. Joe McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker, Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe. Ryan started the fire.
Okay, rule 5, safety first, i.e. don't burn the building down.
Meanwhile, an old flame of Mulder's, see what I did there, who he once shagged on top of Arthur Conan Doyle's gravestone, brings him the case Mission Impossible style with a good old-fashioned cassette. Yes, it's the dreaded monster. It's Phoebe. And not too impressed with old Phoebe, Scully has this reaction. So let's talk about Phoebe for a minute, should we? Because she is kind of the stereotypical posh, intelligent, feisty, upper-class British girl from Mulder's past, who is there basically to create tension between her, Mulder and Scully. So they're almost doing a good old-fashioned love triangle. And it makes me wonder if this was the studio's idea, because Chris Carter actually writes this episode, but I can't imagine him wanting that in there. And now, don't get me wrong, obviously I'm really invested in the Mulder and Scully relationship, and it's a big part of the show. It's a big part of the appeal of the X-Files, but at the same time, it should never take centre stage to the case or to what's going on. And this is just so on the nose. Phoebe is such a lame character. Her accent is very grating, even though I know the actress is actually British, but I guess it's this full-on kind of posh British where she just sounds like she's got a mouthful of marbles at times. It's terribly sort of like posh and annoying. And the character itself is so flat. And we have to do these annoying sort of comic beats where we get the impression that Scully might be jealous of her. And Scully actually gets sidetracked for part of the episode because Mulder is revisiting this stuff with Phoebe. They're investigating the case. Now, one thing I do like is that actually then Scully does get on with the case on her own time. She does investigate it. She starts looking into the history of the case or of the killer. She does like one of her sort of profiles that we hear her typing up in voiceover. So you're still getting really forward-thinking, progressive Scully. And I was watching this on stream last night, and one of the things I said with one of the regulars, or she actually made the point, so good point for Cindy, is that she said it's one of the good things about the early episodes that you do hear the case files of Scully and her profiles of this guy. And I'll talk a bit more about him in a moment, but I do enjoy that, and Scully still manages to come off as pretty damn strong, even despite being sort of sidetracked here. But there's no chemistry between Phoebe and Mulder, and the whole thing is just kind of annoying and sort of sidetracks the episode. I mean, at times it sort of feels a bit like it takes on a greater importance than the monster of the week himself. And another thing that bothered me about it was it becomes this thing where Mulder has to overcome his fear of fire. Apparently, ever since his younger days, he's had this fear of fire, which obviously is going to become relevant because of this guy setting himself on fire, having the ability to create fire. So that already is very cheesy and on the nose. But what bothers me about this is that it's never mentioned again in the series, in the whole of the X-Files. Not that I can remember anyway. There's a lot of episodes, but I don't remember it ever being brought up again. So I sort of hate the fact that we have this clunky kind of story, this subplot with Mulder. It's not really an interesting character beat for him, but it annoys me even more because it's never brought up again. It's never returned to. It's almost that cliche of, you know, he kind of faced his fear and then maybe got over it sort of thing. But it would have been better to at least have brought it back in another episode. There's some clunky dialogue with him and Phoebe. And there's a line at one point where they're like staking out a hotel where for this function where they expect the family to be the family where the fire guy, as I'll call him, has I guess he's taken on the persona of Cecil, but the place where the fire guy and the family he's working for is expected to show up at. And Mulder kind of says false alarm at one point. And this is when they share a kiss once again, which conveniently Scully walks in on, and we get some drama there. But at one point Phoebe says, well, there are still fires to put out tonight. Suggestive, crappy dialogue. Yeah, I kind of hate Phoebe in this whole plot. Probably the highlight of the plot is the way Scully deals with it. Her sort of, kind of subtle sort of sarcasm. The way she like kind of takes the piss out of Phoebe without actually coming, out and doing it clearly. But yeah, it is kind of bad stuff. I think the monster of the week is the best part of the episode, and that is of course Mark Sheppard, who of course is a really good British character actor. He's been in things like Lost and Battlestar Galactica. He is the highlight of the episode. He hams it up wonderfully at times, and he's very charismatic to watch. I think, unfortunately, the gimmick itself is just a little bit cheesy, a little bit on the nose. It's just cartoonish. It's the sort of thing you can't do much with. Now, one thing I will give them credit for, which again was mentioned on the stream last night, is then at least they use practical effects, and the practical effects look pretty good. They at least hold up pretty well. But yeah, let's take a clip. Let's have a look at one of the big set pieces with our boy Mark Sheppard here.
Beer?
They don't let you bring your own around here.
Well, I guess they'll just have to make an exception, won't they?
Oh, you're English. God, I just love that accent.
Allow me.
And a gentleman to boot. Oh my God. Now that is a trick.
Hey, guys, take a look at this.
Careful, lights.
Decent enough scene, and actually the actress playing opposite him is solid in the episode as well, but sadly they just go for the obvious. And Mark Sheppard carries it. He's very good in the episode, but he's just not given anything enough to do. And unfortunately, because we keep skipping between that and the Mulder stuff, the plot never really gets going. It's never really that interesting. It just feels like too much of a gimmick. There's never enough depth to him or any sort of real interest. I think the best thing about it, which I do quite like, is the fact that he is motivated by this attachment to the family, to the wife. He takes a shine to her at one point, and he starts playing with the kids, which we'll see in a moment. I think part of that could just be him being a bit of a bully and showing off his power. I think that scene in the bar is a case of him sort of getting too cocky for his boots, and it's also like a plot contrivance, which is an excuse for Mulder and Phoebe to kind of get a lead on him. But there is at least partly a human side to him, which we see in this scene with the children.
You boys want to see a magic trick?
Okay.
What's your name?
Michael and Jimmy.
Doesn't he talk?
Yes. What kind of a magic trick?
Maybe I better not.
Show us.
Nah, you might tell your mom and dad.
We don't tell.
Really? Promise?
Promise.
Hope to die? Stick a needle in your eye?
Okay.
Okay, boys. You've taken the solemn oath of trust that can't be broken, except under penalty of death. Watch. Is it in there?
No.
Ah, you're too smart for me.
Where did it go?
Where did it go? Where do you think it went, Jimmy?
I don't know.
I think I remember. Ta-da!
Do it again.
You want me to do that again?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it again.
This always used to be an episode I quite enjoyed, but when rewatching last night, it really hasn't aged very well. It just doesn't hold off for me. It's a lame Monster of the Week plot with obviously a good guest performance, but he's not really in it enough or not given enough to do to really affect the episode too much. And the Mulder Phoebe stuff I kind of hate. It's actually not a bad episode for Scully, despite her being kind of sidetracked for too much of the episode. Overall, it's a dud for me, and it's actually going pretty low when I look at the overall rankings so far for the X-Files. It's going right down at number 10, which is out of 12 episodes. So it's just it's just under Shadows, which I do think is a more solid episode, despite me having issues with it. And it's above Ghost in the Machine and Space, which are definitely the weakest episodes of the series so far. So it's not as bad as those, but it's still pretty bad in my opinion. I'll give it 4 out of 10. I'll see you guys next time for the X-Files. Please let me know your thoughts and comments. Like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And next time the quality goes up again, thank God. We do have a real big hitter and a real contrast to this episode. It will be Beyond the Sea, so I look forward to that. But I'll let Scully sign off for me for this episode. See you later.